like a vine. Look out! Here comes the Spider-Man.
Well, everyone, it's time for issue 22. We're right on pace to have finished the entire run of Amazing Spider-Man. We're going to call it up to issue 700 by, 40 years after my death. Not going to lie. This is not my favorite because issue 22 features the clown and his Masters of Menace, the Circus of Crime. I'm not a big fan of the Circus of Crime. I think the Circus of Crime is like, if you want to talk about a half-assed supervillain group, it's like, look, they just literally took the circus performers, said, what if they did crime instead of circus? And that's about it. Also, no gorilla or tiger, like a gorilla doesn't ride in on a trike and then beat the shit out of somebody. It's just, okay, we've got the crafty clown, the great Gambanos, which are basically Puck from these comics, tiny little guys with mustaches who can do acrobatics. The man called Cannonball, who basically just wears metal armor and then hits people with his head in the stomach. Or balls, probably. More in the balls. This is something my younger brother used to do. He used to do this thing called Metalhead, where he would run, put his head down and run and hit you in the stomach or balls with his head. It was not funny at the time because it was painful, but, there were a couple times, too, where he metal-headed into the wall and that kind of thing. It was just, I guess when you're the younger brother, you work with what you got. There's Princess Python, who's, a lady who has a snake. I guess I spoke too soon about the gorilla, but then it's like, hey, look, one of them has a snake. But what pick the least interesting animal, a snake. Oh, boy. And the ringmaster, who is flamboyantly dressed, kind of looks like the Riddler, and has a hat that hypnotizes people. Wowie zowie. What in the world is Spidey going to do now? Anyway, basically, I like how this starts off because it just gets right into it. And it's also, the first box says, in a sleazy hotel room in a shabby hotel. And it's like, Jesus. I would like to think that whoever wrote this, too, was thinking of a specific hotel and kind of being insulting to that hotel. But, and basically, they got out of jail or whatever. So Spidey swoops in and is like, all right, stay on the straight and narrow. Don't fuck around. He also slips a Spidey tracer into the ringmaster's hat and takes off. So he's like putting the fear of God into him and is like, okay, how about you guys don't do crime? And then he leaves. And then basically as soon as he leaves, the ringmaster's like, now that he's gone, we can get back to business. We'll go to another state, open our circus again, and I'll hypnotize the crowd as usual while you make a fortune robbing them. Which also, I was like, this actually answers a very common comic book question. It seems like an awful lot of superheroes live in New York. Fantastic Four is there, Daredevil's there, Spider-Man's there. Everybody, I think the Avengers are there. I mean, it seems like 90% of them are there. And you're like, well, I guess Denver has like Martian Manhunter, but maybe I should take my chances on that. He's probably off in space or under the sea half the time. Ta-ta-da-ta. So if I'm going to pick a city for crime, maybe Akron is where I should rob a bank, not New York. But basically the circus, the other people are like, fuck you. You had your shot. We're tired of getting thrown in jail. So basically they kick him out. Pretty literally, the clown throws a juggling ball in his face. The human cannonball hits him in the stomach with his head. The other guys tumble him around, and then they're just like, he's out the door. Which I was like, I don't know if they had to beat the shit out of him. They could have just told him to leave. But fine. I, there's a great panel. The human cannonball guy is just putting his head right in the guy's stomach, and he's like, oof, you know? And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what it's like. You're not gonna die. You're not gonna die from the human cannonball / metalhead attack, but it's pretty unpleasant. So then they're like, who should be our new leader? And they decide the clown. So, just to add insult to injury, it's like, I used to be the head of my organization and I was replaced by a literal clown. Bummer. And everybody else seems kind of fine with this, right? And they're like, without that idiot and his stupid hypnotism, everything's going to be amazing. So anyway, also the circus of crime, the whole thing to me is like, they could pick a different name. I think in this issue, they're trying to like pick a new name because they're like, whatever. So then we have an opening of an art gallery, a collection, I should say. And it's like sponsored by J. Jonah Jameson. And what's funny about this is you can tell whoever drew the art for this comic book is not so much a believer in fine art, because you can see a couple pictures. One is a stick man. One is like a realistic looking picture of a foot in a sock and the toe is coming out of a hole in the sock. So it's like a busted sock. Another one's just a finger with a Band-Aid on it. And it's like, these are supposed to be amazing or whatever. And J. Jonah Jameson is just like, whatever. So someone has a weird thought balloon that's like, boy, I wish I could draw feet like that. Future Rob Liefeld. Anyway, the Circus of Crime, of course, shows up to steal all of these arts. The clown goes in first, where everybody is, to try and distract everyone. And then he's like, someone's suspicious that something else is going on, they're going to go in the other room, whatever. Which is pretty good because I'm like, I think if I was at an art gallery and a clown busted in on a unicycle and was juggling, I'd be like, this seems like something that would happen in arts. I don't know much about arts, but this seems not inappropriate to me. And that's probably because I know nothing about art. So anyway, Peter Parker happens to be there. So then Spidey goes after the ringmaster, who's just being let out of jail because he didn't do anything this time. The Circus of Crime stole a bunch of art and they got away with it. So I guess that's good. I guess maybe cutting the ringmaster loose was wise because it's like, well, he'll get scooped up by the cops, and while they're busy with him, we'll make a continued getaway. Spidey goes to the ringmaster and steals his hat, webs it to the ceiling, and then basically uses the hypnotic disc on it to hypnotize the ringmaster. Which now I'm like, wait a minute, is this like this guy's only thing is his hat? Is his hat the only thing he's got? If that's all he's got is his hat, like, why wouldn't you just smash his hat? Why would you tuck a spider tracer into his hat? I kind of always thought his hypnotism was like enhanced by his hat. But apparently it is the hat because the hat hypnotizes him immediately. And so he's just sitting there staring at his own hat. Okay, and then this is where the Circus of Crime members decide to come up with their own new name. So they have the Carnival Champs, the Big Toppers, the Masters of Menace, which are like terrible names. I mean, the Circus of Crime is a very lazy name, but it's, descriptive, I guess. The Carnival Champs? I mean, what are they champs of? The Big Toppers? That's going to confuse them with a strip club for sure. Masters of Menace? I mean, that's like Sinister Six, except it's not descriptive of the number, nor it has no circus connection. The two I came up with were Three Ring Thieves, but that's way too hard to say. Although it would lend itself to a pretty good logo, I think. And the Carnivillans. That one I think is pretty solid. Even though a circus and a carnival aren't really the same, I feel like they've got a snake woman, so I'm like, I don't know. You guys are blurring the lines here, not me. So Spider-Man shows up and is fighting the circus of crime. He basically beats the shit out of everybody. He gets a good cannonball to the stomach, but, he's fine. The real problem comes because the Princess Python grabs him and is like, basically trying to talk him into not beating the shit out of him. And he can get out of her grasp. I thought she was like maybe had a super grasp that would crush him. And he's like, I could break this easily, but I don't want to like punch a woman. So this is like a thing that I suppose has gotten easier in 2021. I would think, I don't know how it works in the comics, but I would imagine 2021 Spider-Man could paste a lady one if he had to, right? To get out of a potentially deadly situation. Doesn't seem unreasonable. So the circus of crime guys all beat him up. I mean, I don't know. The ringmaster is still hypnotized, but he finally gets out of it. When I was a kid, I definitely thought hypnotism was like a thing you could learn. And I always was like, why don't adults do that? It was like lock picking, which I guess is a real thing. But also when you're a kid, you're like, why would you not learn to lockpick until you could effectively do it all the time? That's like a superpower. That's amazing. And it's a real thing. And then as an adult, I'm like, I don't know why, but I don't care anymore. I guess maybe as an adult, you're just sort of like, I just smash a door down. That's not a problem. Yay! Somebody just got a negative COVID test, so ran in to kiss me. We've spent most of the weekend apart. Anyway, this has been a little scattered, huh? So I've never learned to lockpick, although I do, as an adult, own a lockpick set and a clear lock that's supposed to teach you how to do it. Anyway, Spidey beats the shit out of the circus of crime pretty handily, which I liked, by the way. I kind of liked that he just pretty easily dispatches them. That seems appropriate. Then this snake woman tries to, I keep calling her Snake Woman, but she tries to kind of seduce him. Spider-Man, you're not too hard to take. Why don't you and I team up? We could make beautiful music together. And it's funny because she's like, oh, you beautiful whatever. And Spider-Man the whole time is basically doing everything in his power not just to cave in her face. Princess Python. She's like, I think I'm doing a good job seducing him. Maybe this will work. And the whole time he's just like, how do I get rid of this lady without just punching her? I'm getting dangerously close to just socking her in the face. And she'd probably die because I don't think she has superpowers. Then he fights with her snake. She has a giant snake. And this brought up a question I've had. Because I'm like, he ties the snake in a knot. And I was like, that must happen in real life, right? That must be a thing. Can a snake tie itself in a knot? That's got to be possible. Snake themselves don't wriggle into knots they can't wriggle out of. At any rate, healthy ones don't. On the contrary, many snakes and other legless critters have an extraordinary facility for self-knotting and can tie and untie themselves with a dexterity that would leave a sailor or a Boy Scout in awe. Why do snakes turn upside down when they die? I don't know. So basically, it's impossible. Oh, that wasn't me trying to be cute. That was just a thing that happened. I'm sorry. It's impossible. Here's Reddit, the place of internet knowledge. No stupid questions. Could snakes accidentally tie themselves in a knot and not be able to get out? Someone says, no, it just kind of slides down their body and then unties. 126 points. Someone said, what if I tie them into a knot they aren't familiar with? Could they get stuck? So this person's like, what if they don't know a clove hitch? You didn't think of that. Someone just said, please don't. That would break their spines. If you pull the knot tight, you'll break the snake's spine. If you don't, the snake just needs to crawl forward. It doesn't untie itself by pulling the knot apart like you do when untying a cord. It unties itself by pulling the tail through until it's out of the knot. That makes sense. Follow-up question, can I tie 2 or more snakes into a knot? 2 snakes is easier, someone says. I mean, if you don't count that there's twice as many fangs. 1 snake, you just stick the tail in their mouth and boom, eternal glutton. You have more to work with when you use 2, but I see your point. All right, fair enough. Especially since they're pretty much solid muscle and able to manipulate their body, they can't do it. I have 2 ball pythons, and my big one loves to tangle himself, but he's too chunky to really tie himself up. But there is a disease called inclusion body disease that results in neurological symptoms, one of which is the snake tying themselves up in knots in which they cannot escape. Okay. So, the conclusion here is it's possible, but only if the snake is basically dying. So really, Spidey ties the snake in a knot, and that is a maybe not inhumane way to escape a giant snake, you know? He didn't cave the snake's face in, didn't take its fangs off or whatever. That's just snake being a snake, right? Anyway, the clown's trying to escape with valuable art that I guess he's going to somehow flip. I don't even know how you would flip art now, let alone back in the day. Maybe it's easier back in the day because it's like, I can steal this here, take it to London, they sell it there. And as long as I have someone shady enough who's not like, I'm not going to ask where you got this. But the ringmaster confronts the clown, takes the paintings, and then he's like, I'm going to make a new circus of crime. But of course, he's walking out of the building with the paintings when the cops show up. Wah, wah. Tan-ta-na-na-na, ta-na-ta-na-ta-na. Oh, Ringmaster, you're the original Larry David. That's basically it. You know, then J. Jonah Jameson's going to fire Peter Parker, except then Parker's like, check this out. I got all these pics of the Masters of Menace. So I guess they decided to, call them that. And that's about it. Oh, and Aunt May is like, why are you coming home so late? I mean, many a comic book of Spider-Man lore ends that way. It's almost like I should just say standard ending A1. Aunt May is like, where have you been, Peter Parker? I didn't raise you to just come home at times of the night that are later than 5. How are you going to do your chemistry homework? Well, there you go, everyone. Issue 22. We got that stupid circus of crime out of the way. Hopefully we'll have something a little bit more villainous next time. Sinister? It's not the Sinister Six, but I'll just tease it anyway.
He climbs a tree just like a vine. Look out!